Bonjour, hi, Canada. Hugh Hewitt. Voice is bad. News is great. The polls are extraordinary for Republicans. Indeed, every poll is extraordinary for Republicans and has been for 2 days. First, a couple of quick bits of news. Rishi Sunak is now the Prime Minister of Great Britain. He's gone to meet with King Charles. First time I've ever said that in 31 years of broadcasting, gone to meet King Charles. And the key news today from Great Britain will be who's in his cabinet. I have only two requests. Ben Wallace stay as Secretary of Defense, or what they call Defense Secretary, and that Michael Gove be back in the cabinet, preferably in a grand office of state. Actually, I hope he'd be Chancellor of the Exchequer. We'll see. I want to go right to the polling, though, because Democrats are in absolute panic. And the reason they're in absolute panic is everything is turning against them. And the reason everything is turning against them is another story on those scores in classrooms came out yesterday that broke it down in depth. And every single American student suffered in the lockdowns. Every single one. Some of them terribly. And by doing that, voters' memories are being reminded of the promises made by Joe Biden when he came into office. In fact, he screwed it up. And the school district sacrificed the students and the parents to the interest of teachers' unions. Those are Democrat interest groups, and people know it. In New Hampshire, Governor Chris Sununu is up by 12 points. In New Hampshire, Democrat incumbent Maggie Hassan, who is expected to run away with it, is up by 3 points in one poll and 1 point in another poll in the last 2 days, suggesting that Don Bolduc is calling that one into question. The tie that was announced in Michigan between Tudor Dixon and Governor Whitmer is encouraging news. The Fetterman race, the best one I read, is that Fetterman is down by 5 points. They have their only debate tonight. I can't tell you that the wrong track number isn't as bad as it's ever been. The right direction is only 29% in this country, and the wrong track is 65%. And I don't know that I've ever seen numbers for a country going into a general election, not a presidential, but a general off-year election with this number. So yesterday, Joe Biden did the only thing he can do. He talked to a friendly reporter, and that's okay to be a friendly reporter. Donald Trump talks to me. Ted Cruz is going to talk to me later today. I'm going to talk to Herschel Walker and J.D. Vance today, and I'm a friendly reporter. So it's okay to talk to friendly reporters. But you ought to be able to handle questions from friendly reporters, and if they get in your head, you stick with it, as people do, like Trump does to me. Don't expect the reporter to roll over. Don't expect them to throw you softballs. Expect fair questions and the opportunity to answer, not to be ambushed like we saw Ted Cruz ambushed on The View. I'll talk to Ted Cruz about that in a little bit later today. Let's start with the president's speech yesterday, cut number 2 at the Democratic National Committee.
Let's go back and see what we inherited from Trump and the mega Republicans. We won the election when we came to office. We inherited a nation in crisis, the pandemic with no end, an economy on the brink, a national debt that they increased in their short time by $8 trillion. And because of the inaction of incompetence of the COVID was running and ruining American lives. Look at how far we've come.
Okay, that's all a lie. It wasn't a crisis. It was over. The vaccines had rolled out, but people didn't trust Joe Biden. They didn't take the vaccines, and the public health authorities screwed up the vaccine rollout. Since then, they screwed up the lockdowns of the school, and this morning in the Washington Post, $122 billion of the money sent to schools by Joe Biden has not been spent. That's terrible oversight. You know what they've been doing their oversight on? January 6th nonsense. I say nonsense because it's not a real committee, so it's not legitimate oversight. Legitimate committee would have been good oversight. That was not legitimate oversight. There was no opposition. Nancy Pelosi stopped it. Then Joe Biden now not lies. Cut number 3.
We're going to protect. Democrats are going to protect the fundamental rights and freedoms like the right to choose, the right to privacy, the right to vote, our very democracy. Republicans have already introduced legislation that will ban abortion, with no exceptions to rape or incest or the life of the mother in many places. At the same time, Republicans are threatening to take away the constitutional right to marry the person you love. Just look at the facts. You don't need to imagine
that's a
anything
lie.
this time.
It's an absolute lie. There is no effort anywhere in the United States to legislate against same-sex marriage. There is no effort to do a federal law dictating to the states what they may or may not do when it comes to abortion, except from Democrats who want to make it legal to the moment of birth. There is nothing in that that's true. As to the right to vote, Georgia, which was held up as the poster child of voter suppression, has got record numbers of early voting as Herschel Walker surges and as Brian Kemp romps. Joe Biden, DNC, another lie. Cut number 8.
I don't pay attention to anything having to do with the polls. I just pay attention to what's happening on the phone.
No. Do you believe that? Does anyone believe that? He doesn't get about a poll. Do you believe it? It's absolute nonsense. Cut number 7.
Democrats are lowering your everyday costs like prescription drugs, health care premiums, energy bills, and gas prices.
Hey, Dwayne. Mr. Dwayne, are you there this morning?
I am right here.
How's your everyday cost of living doing?
Skyrocketed.
I mean,
It's an absolute lie.
what is the price of gas? Yeah, because can we hear what the president just said? Cut number 7.
Democrats are lowering your everyday costs like prescription drugs, health care premiums, energy bills, and gas prices.
How's your energy bills? How are your gas prices?
Everything is up. This is like the world's worst Jedi mind trick.
Okay, let's go back to it. Cut number 6, another lie.
The Democrats are the ones that are fiscally responsible. Let's get that straight now, okay?
Yeah, they're the ones that are fiscally responsible, and we're supposed to believe that. Why?
All right, I'll do the. I know you don't like my voice. I know you think I don't have any voice, but I got to do this myself and call it out the lies. Cut number 5.
The Democrats, but we have a lower inflation rate than most any other nation in the world.
You know, Guy Benson last night went through this on Special Report, and he named every nation in the world which has lower inflation, including Japan, which has almost none. And I just can't stand it. The president lies there, and they don't get called on it. Where are the fact checkers? All right, now we're going to go to Ron DeSantis destroying Charlie Crist last night. I mean, destroying Charlie Crist. It's a defenestration. It's not a debate. Cut number 11.
And you want to talk about standing up for taxpayers. When Charlie Crist was governor, he ran saying he would not raise taxes. He became governor, and he signed off on the largest increase in taxes and fees in the history of the state of Florida.
That's time,
we
Governor.
just enacted the largest decrease in taxes in the history of Florida.
Thank you.
Cut number 12.
Well, listen, I know that Charlie's interested in talking about 2024 and Joe Biden, but I just want to make things very, very clear. The only worn-out old donkey I'm looking to put out to pasture is Charlie Crist.
Cut number 13.
And then I signed legislation raising the penalties for people who are trafficking fentanyl and fentanyl analogs. If you're trafficking that garbage, that poison, you are killing people in our state, and we are going to treat you like the murderer that you are.
Cut number 14.
Well, I was thinking back in the aftermath of this to a poor woman over 40 years ago in Jamaica, and she found herself pregnant, didn't think there'd be much opportunity to have a child, was urged to abort the baby, went to get the abortion, and for whatever reason, and maybe we can't explain, that didn't end up happening, and she ended up having the baby. And I think about that because a few months ago, I appointed her daughter to be the first Jamaican-American justice in the history of the Florida Supreme Court. I just think we're better when everybody counts. I understand not everyone's going to be born in perfect circumstances, but I would like to see everybody have a shot. I'm proud of the 15 weeks that we did. I know Charlie Crist opposes that, even though the baby is fully formed, has a heartbeat, can feel pain, and can suck their thumb. He also supports sex-selective abortions, which is used to discriminate against little girls. He supports dismemberment abortions, where they literally will tear the baby limb from limb. And he supports taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up until the moment of birth, and that is wrong.
Congressman, you have 60
One
seconds.
more. Let's do cut number 16.
I'm proud of our history. I don't want to teach kids to hate our country. I don't want to teach kids to hate each other. And the way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race.
I love Ron DeSantis quoting Chief Justice Roberts on what should be the policy everywhere. Do you think, by the way, Rishi Sunak would get into Harvard today with her anti-Indian American policies at Harvard? You think? I don't think so. Democrats are in favor of that. Race equity. They don't want race blindness, color blindness. They want racial equity. I'll talk with Ted Cruz about that later. Stay tuned. I'm Hugh. J.D. Vance, a longtime friend of the show, is going to be the new senator from Ohio in 2 weeks. And boy, are they desperate, J.D. Good morning. How are you?
Good, Hugh. How are you? I hope you feel better.
Well, it doesn't hurt. I got this in Ohio, in Pittsburgh out there, and I heard everyone say you're going to win. But now they've opened up the gates of fury. The Washington Post headline, in Ohio, Vance faces backlash in Ukrainian community over war stance. I think it's nonsense. Tell us what your stance on the Ukraine war is, J.D.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have two basic views, Hugh. The first is, I think obviously Putin was wrong to invade. The Ukrainians were very admirable to resist, and they've been admirable. They've resisted admirably in the face of an unprovoked military attack. At the same time, I really worry about the fact that the United States is being expected to carry the entire burden here, that Europe's not doing much, that their energy policies and their defense spending effectively invite Russian aggression, and the United States is being asked to pick up the tab. And I don't think, and this is an area where I disagree with many Republicans, I don't think that we can fund Ukraine indefinitely, and I really, really worry that Europe is effectively expecting us to do exactly that.
Is it causing a backlash in the Ukrainian community in Ohio?
No, I don't think so, Hugh. I mean, remember, they've ran this story before. So they ran this story during the primary, and one of the only parts of Cuyahoga County that I won in the primary, of course, was not exactly Vance territory, Cuyahoga County. The only area, or one of the only areas I won was Parma, which has the largest Ukrainian population in the entire state of Ohio. I've talked to a number of Ukrainians. I've actually, talked to people who both disagree with my view but agree with my view in the Ukrainian community. I'm sure there are some people who are pissed off about it, but I expect to win a lot of Ukrainian votes. Of course, I'll be happy and thrilled to have them, but I don't think that this is causing a backlash in anything besides the mainstream media. And by the way, speaking of Parma, we're actually doing an event with Mike Gibbons there in a couple days, so should be fun. And if people are there in the Parma area, they should come out for it.
JD, I'll start calling you Senator-elect after Tuesday. Until then, you're JD. You and I disagree on this only because I think Putin is committing genocide. Do you agree with me?
I don't know the correct term. It's certainly unlawful and it's certainly immoral. What he's doing is inappropriate. It's disgusting, and he should have never done it. But I think, again, the question that I'm always asking is, what is the United States? What is our response to do to this, and how should we actually pursue our interests in a very, very tough situation?
Now, JD, you're a Marine. I want people to remember that. You actually know what this means when soldiers commit war crimes. Ukraine is littered with war crime scenes. Should Putin and the people responsible for that ever escape culpability?
Well, what does it mean to escape culpability, I guess, is do I think that they should suffer consequences? Absolutely. Am I willing to commit United States troops to ensure that they suffer those consequences? Absolutely not. And so then the question becomes, how do we actually enforce this culpability? And I think that's where the very, very hard-nosed realist instinct has to prevail here, and we have to ask what's in our best interest. I think that I would love to see Putin lose. I would love to see Putin face serious consequences. The question for us is, what are we willing to do to ensure that?
Well, I also think we've got to say to Germany, stop shutting down your nuclear power plants. We're not going to bail you out when you're being blackmailed by Putin. I agree with you on that. But I think we need moral clarity first. Then from moral clarity, what is the strategic necessity of the United States? Do you agree with me on that?
I actually think that strategic necessity and moral clarity have to coexist. In particular, we have a lot of moral clarity, Hugh, and we put a lot on the line here for Ukraine. We put a lot of our resources into this war. I don't think that we can let Europe off the hook and say that moral clarity somehow trumps their strategic idiocy in the face of Putin. I mean, if your strategy is to empower Putin, you cannot claim the moral high ground. And that's exactly what Germany and some of these other countries have done. There's this question that's always asked of those who are a little bit more worried about escalation. They always say, well, would you allow Putin to march to Germany? Would you allow him to march all the way through Western Europe? And I tend to turn that on its head, Hugh, and I say, why in God's name would Germany allow itself to be conquered by Putin? It's not just their nuclear energy policies, Hugh. It's their natural gas policies. They've effectively listened to a 17-year-old girl and allowed Greta, whatever her name is, to set their energy policy even as it's empowered Vladimir Putin, and even as they fail to actually meet their military spending guidelines as set by NATO. So I actually think that the strategic stupidity of Europe goes directly to their moral culpability for letting this happen.
Well, I agree with you on that. I just think we got to keep rolling out the HIMARS and everything else that stops Putin short of advancing towards NATO borders and no American troops. We agree on that. JD, I want to get to the other issues. I have a Washington Post column. What I learned in Ohio, in Columbus and Cleveland, is that it's inflation, crime, the border, China, and education. Am I right?
That is exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. And this is, by the way, the education issue, the media has given really short shrift during this race. Hugh, I've tried to talk about it as much as possible. Tim Ryan and I had a debate not too far from your hometown in Warren, I believe. We were in Youngstown for our debate about 8 or 9 days ago, and the media asked about the Great Replacement theory. They asked one question about the economy. They asked 0 questions about energy, and they asked 0 questions about education. And I think it shows how just how obsessed the press is with distracting from the issues that are going to make the Democrats more vulnerable. Unfortunately for both the media and the Democrats, people are living in this economy. They're living with this education system. They're living with the consequences of Joe Biden's decision. So I don't think any amount of distraction from the press is going to distract people from how messed up federal policy is.
JD, you went to public school because I read your memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, and I went to Catholic school in Warren, so I had a great education. They're still getting a great education. It is ideology-free, and it is not going to cater to the most progressive or left-wing vision of gender. How often I think it's an iceberg issue. I think this gender dysphoria is an iceberg issue, and it's a 90-10 issue for Republicans. Do you agree with me?
Absolutely, I do. And I think it's, anybody who has young kids knows that it's absurd to allow public schools or anybody else to sexualize young children. I mean, we were at an event in Worcester yesterday. Hugh, you probably know where that is.
I do. Friends went to Worcester College, fine college. Yep.
Yeah, and a woman brought up to me a book that's in an elementary school library that is, I checked the binder to see that it was at this library, and it is incredibly explicit detail about how to engage in sexual acts. And I'm thinking to myself, what parent, whether you're a liberal on sexual issues, a traditionalist on sexual issues, what parent wants this stuff in the libraries of their 8-year-old children? I don't think anybody does. That's not ideology. That's basic freedom to choose as a parent. And I think most of us feel it very, very intensely.
Thank you. As you know, even though you're a Yale lawyer, there is a right to control your child's education that is constitutional. And that means parents are in control of ideology, and they can banish this. Do you think there is a big red wave coming, JD?
Hugh, I really do. I mean, I mentioned this event in Worcester. We had about 100 people, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday in Worcester, Ohio. We did an event we did an event last week with Ted Cruz. We had 400 people midday last week. We're going to have at one of our events today. We've already got 350 RSVPs. The energy on the ground here is absolutely incredible.
Where are you going today?
We're starting in Delaware. I'm speaking to you from a hotel room in Central Ohio. So we're going from Delaware to Beaver Creek over to Lima, one of my favorite parts of the state of Ohio, and we're going to have great crowds in all places. I
just want you to finish in Courthouse Square, where John Kennedy and John Kerry both campaigned in Warren on their election nights, because that's become red country in Trumbull County. JD Vance, what's the website?
It's jdvance.com, Hugh, and people can go. They can volunteer for us, sign up to the phone bank, also contribute. That helps us stay on TV, which is very important to collecting those all-important undecided voters. But things are going well, Hugh. I feel very good about where we are.
Thank you for joining me. Thanks for answering the questions straight up and continue the fight. You're going to make a great Senator, J.D. Vance. Live inside the Beltway last week at a Herschel Walker rally, Yahoo News reports a small group of protesters disrupted a press conference being held by Herschel, with one referring to him as a House N-word. A number of witnesses at the event heard it, including a media photographer. It has not been widely reported. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution doesn't want to talk about it. Herschel Walker is here to tell me what the status of that story is. Good morning, Herschel. Welcome back. You're winning. I'm very happy for you.
Hello there. How are you doing?
I'm good. Did you hear it yourself, or did you just your staffers and the media hear it?
The staffer and the media heard it, and like the Atlanta Constitution don't want to admit it, but I think they heard it as well. But they're not going to say anything about it. But I'm going to continue to pray for people like that and keep moving on because this seat is more important than name calling. So that's the reason I'm fighting for it, is to try to get this seat back.
Soon to be Senator Walker, Elie Mystal pulled this stunt on MSNBC. He's a left-winger from The Nation. He called you a, quote, unintelligent Negro who would do the Republicans' bidding and the kind of Negro Republicans like. I guess you're just used to this by now, but is it turning you in any way against the media?
Not at all. One of the things I said when I got in this race, I said, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ has prepared me for it. I would call names when I was a little boy. So I reckon God was preparing me for it right then, and right now I'm fine, and I'm not going to worry about what people are calling me because, like I said, this seat is so important, and I've said I'm going to pray for people that want to continue to call names because that's not what I'm about. I'm about trying to get these gas prices down, trying to get food on people's table that they can afford, trying to get their utility bill down, trying to get the border secured, and also get our kids in school that they can learn. That's what I'm about. I'm not about name calling. That's what they're about because right now there's a problem going on, and they don't have to have solutions, and they just want to call names where I want to come up with solutions.
Herschel Walker, last time you were on with me, and I appreciate you keep coming back, the headline story was in the Daily Beast alleging that you had paid for a girlfriend's abortion. You denied it. Has that story changed?
No, I denied it, and that's why I moved on, and because that's what they want to do. They'll say and do whatever they can for this seat, but as I told them earlier, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep moving forward. My campaign is moving forward. We're going to win this seat because I hope everyone saw during the debate, Senator, why not ready for this seat? I'm the one that's ready. And if I was not that intelligent, he must be worse because I think I made him look bad in the debate.
Oh, did you win that debate, Herschel? I don't know what the football analogy is, but it was open field running. No one could tackle you, and he fell down. Did everyone think that? That was my view.
Well, I think, and people said that I studied and he was not prepared. I don't know whether that was it or he didn't want to answer the questions. Right now, he has a lot of questions to answer. In just 2 short years, not quite 2 years, he's seen the mess that he put us in. He was the deciding vote in almost everything that happened, and he decided wrong. Right now, this country is hurting because of his vote. And I think he cannot continue to go out and think everything is okay. And I think that may be the problem. They seem to not know that there's a problem going on. They seem to keep going forward, but yet the gas prices is high, and we're the one that's suffering from it. And he's better himself. His salary's going up. He's out there evicting people from his apartment building, and he seems to be doing well while everyone else is hurting.
That's another story that cuts against Raphael Warnock, so it's not being covered. And that is that his church, which pays him, how much they pay him a year? Still that he's in the Senate, $100,000, $140,000?
Well, they're paying him right now. He even get over $7,500 stipend for his housing allowance, and he gets stipend for babysitting when he's not even right now. His child support. That's what they're in court for right now. And and I told people I'm an open book. I've been very transparent. Where he's sealed his records, he's hidden the camp, what happened at the camp when he paid the families off, but I said not about that. What this race is about who can represent Georgia in the Senate, and that's Herschel Walker, and I know that because I showed people during the debate I can do it. He showed people that he's going to continue to mislead and try to lie or try to mislead people rather than be honest with people and tell people that there's a problem going on in this state.
There's a problem going on in this country with regard to inflation, crime, and the border, Herschel Walker. Those are the big three I identify in my Washington Post column this morning. Is that what you hear about the most on the campaign trail?
It is. I hear about that a great deal. And, crime. Crime has gotten total out of control, and we got to put a stop to it. But yet, down running against, he's called our law enforcement thugs and bullies. He's got the morale down in our law enforcement. He got recruitment down. And on the debate stage, he said, I support the police. And it's almost laughable. It's laughable to listen to when you hear somebody on the Democratic Party saying what they're doing for our law enforcement when you knew that they were the one that wanted to defund the police. you knew that they're the one that put us in this situation, and yet they would stand in front of a crowd of people and mislead the crowd of people by telling them dishonest lies that's not true just because they want to vote. And I think that's what's fair. Georgia people deserve more than that, and I'm going to give them more than that when I get into office.
Herschel Walker, the media has been this may be the race that has been most purposely miscovered by the American political press, because they do not want you to win. They do not want him to lose. Did you expect this? Did anyone warn you about how one-sided it would be?
I was warned about it, and like I said, I'm not going to worry about it. The reason why this seat is so important to them and is important to me as well, that they will say and do anything for this seat, this lead, to lie, to do whatever they can for this seat. But what I'm shocked about is to have a senator that also is a reverend. He's a reverend as well to continue to bear false witness, to continue to do the things he's doing, because if he gave the ultimate oath to our Heavenly Father and he hadn't kept that, do the Georgia people think he's going to keep his oath he given to them? Because I think people need to think about that, because right now he's been in office not quite 2 years, and you see where we're at. And I asked the question, can we take 6 years of what he's doing right now?
No. Herschel Walker, I want to close by talking about very practical stuff. Voter turnout is extraordinary. It's off the roof in Georgia. Remember, we were supposed to be suppressing the vote in Georgia. That's not happened. In fact, Brian Kemp's reforms have greatly assisted people in early voting. How do you look at the early voting trends? Do you feel good about the race?
I do feel good about the race. I feel good about the race because, the people that I'm getting out seeing, they're getting out and voting. And that's what I told everyone. I want everyone to get out and vote, to have their voices heard, to have their vote counted. Because when it's all said and done, I don't want anyone complaining. I don't want anyone saying anything, because this is the greatest times of our life right now, to have an opportunity to vote, that we can get out and let the people know who we are and what we stand for. And right now, I stand for Georgia, and Raphael Warnock seems to be standing for Joe Biden.
Well, they've thrown everything. I don't know if you've ever been tackled this hard before, Herschel, and broke it, but it appears to me that you have broken it.
Well, they've thrown everything at me and the kitchen sink, but I'm still fighting, and I'm still in the race, and I think the Georgia people are going to bring me to victory. I've scored for Georgia before, and I'll score again. Right now, I don't think Senator Warnock knew what he got a hold of when he decided to challenge me. But I told him I'm this country boy from Wrightsville, Georgia, but, I'm okay. I'll be all right. I'll do well. And I think people see now that I was telling the truth, and he's the one that needed now to go back to school to learn how to become a good senator.
Well, Herschel Walker, thank you for coming back. I hope people continue to contribute, and I'll talk to you again next week and hopefully on Election Day to get out the vote. Thank you, Herschel Walker.
Hey, thank you. And tell everyone to go to teamherschel.com, volunteer their time, call in, do whatever you can do to help me to win this great seat fight for the great people of Georgia. And God bless.
Hey, congratulations on the debate as well. That was just terrific. Thank you, Herschel.